was thinking product red was about AIDS, and there you go. Imagine a world without AIDS. So, let's open up the box and see what is inside. Alright, no joke. Every deck of product red playing cards can provide 5 days of life-saving HIV medication. Every deck makes a difference. Alright, cool. Glad to know that. That's some nice coloring for the face cards. Diamonds, hearts, and clubs. Together, $1 from every deck of product red playing cards sold will go to the Global Fund to support the prevention and treatment of HIV/AIDS in sub-Saharan Africa. Every deck makes a difference. 5 days. Every deck of playing cards can provide 5 days of life-saving HIV medication. Every deck makes a difference. Alright. If you have a reason to buy a deck, there it is. I didn't mean for this video to be like a little bit of a bummer off the start, but it doesn't have to be really. Like the back, like the face cards. Let's shuffle up and get into game number 1. But you know how we are, we're going to talk about, obviously, stuff related to the deck. Impromptu. But for now, get yourself nice and comfy as we work our way down our solitaire journey to 1000. Okay, just so you know, I have no idea what we're going to talk about in this one. So if you're a little squeamish, uncomfortable about certain stuff, you're probably going to experience some squeamishness with what's said. Anyway, AIDS, HIV. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just, well, I'm going to explain myself. Ever since I was a kid, I thought HIV and AIDS were the same thing. They're not. They're very similar. Again, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this part's right at least. I think AIDS is a generalized term for autoimmune deficiencies, and HIV is just one type of AIDS. And I remember, I know some of you are young enough to not know or experience the AIDS scare throughout the United States and parts of the world. But it was not treated too great in my opinion. Just, I don't know. I think lots of people have natural good inside of them. But out of fear, it's very easy for the evil to come out. And that is apparent in just almost any subject you see. To a negative extent, I think has a lot of fear rooted in it than anything else. As a kid, when I grew up, I would be sick a fair amount from school. And I have to be honest, I did fake sicknesses not to go to school because it was just boring. At points, not all the time. I think we've all done that at some point though. Not trying to justify, just expanding. But I would get legitimately sick from points as a child to where I would miss a couple weeks at a time. And I would have to have stronger medicine to make sure I could manage not being sick and have it suck. And it was to the point where I was missing like a month of the concerning since I didn't like have bad grades or anything, but still, it raises some alarm bells. And again, honestly, I did exaggerate a little bit, just a little bit of my symptoms. But there were many points where I was just legitimately sick or ill. Obviously I'm sick, but I know that's stupid. It would really suck when I did get sick. And my brother would joke with me and say, you know what, you probably have AIDS. And as a kid you think, that's not cool to say. That's something you shouldn't be thinking about. It's real, but I know it's like a joking tease, but you take things more seriously when you're younger. And it's not a good tease, remember? Different generation, different times. But it did make me think and worry about it for a while, but I knew I didn't. Type of thing. But because of that, on my own, I'd look into it, hear about people's stories and circumstances involving AIDS and just the world of autoimmune diseases, to where it can be very scary, especially 25 years ago. Now it's not nearly as bad by a huge margin, as we have a pretty good start, 555s though. And I think for a while, something I do that I actually think's a strong suit is if something makes me uncomfortable, I try going into it like face first, as this is the end of game number 1. Now we're for that 5, 10, or jack, no 2 of diamonds, or 3 of spades, so we are done with game number 1. Not a bad game though. But just learning about that, I think it's very common for people just to stray away from things that make them feel uncomfortable. And I think 222s, that makes sense. If you're a little unfamiliar with it, a decent movie to watch is Dallas Buyers Club. I think that's a pretty good representation of how it was viewed here in the United States when it was happening, especially at first. But anyway, I think it's on Netflix too, might still be. But I remember when I'm just go back and forth all around, by the way, in case you're wondering. I was probably told that by my brother in 3rd grade as the joke. And during 4th and 5th grade, I remember I'd get up probably around 6 in the morning before school would start, watch Cops while having my breakfast or TV dinner breakfasts, my slices of leftover Little Caesars, while watching Cops. And what's messed up, in my hometown, every once in a while it'd come on because large area, lots of crime. Of course they'd send a TV crew there. And what's really messed up, and what scared me a lot too at a young age, was that there was this guy closer to downtown where I live on the Cops episode. And what he was doing, he was running around chasing people and touching them. And why is that so bad? He was infected with HIV. So he's trying to, contaminate them and just have them get AIDS or HIV. And the cops couldn't do anything to really contain him. So they just had to let him wear himself down and just watch him and keep their distance. And I thought that was so messed up. And how someone just minding their own can have something happen to them so quickly and just be life-altering way more than you'd expect. And I'm not gonna lie, I still have like paranoia towards it. Especially with like going to the restroom or touching something that a lot of people use, to where you don't know if their bodily fluids or whatever's on their hands. Maybe touching something or touching someone who's had infected juices, sweat, blood, all this mixture. I don't mean to make you paranoid, but just sharing how I feel and view it. And I think it's a good thing to kind of be cautious of. And especially where I'm at, there are lots of like public restrooms or places where homelessness, or just before homelessness became a larger issue than it is now, of blood spots on the streets and that type of thing. I told you this video is going to be everywhere. And I still have that paranoia of just not wanting to touch something that can't be seen. And that was one of the bigger bothering factors regarding that. And I learned that one of my friends growing up, wow, 4-2s, had AIDS. And I thought AIDS was HIV, but it wasn't. He just had an autoimmune disease to where he was more sickly, prone to getting sick than those around him, which makes sense. And I just remember being a little bit like I'd take a step back when I'd be near him if he were sick, or if like he were to have a bloody nose or something, or playing baseball, got scratched up, just being extra cautious and keeping my distance. And he was a smart kid, so it's like he didn't know and didn't understand. But looking back, I think it was better to talk about certain things than just acting. But I don't know. I don't know where to go with this subject matter, honestly. What are the first things that come to your mind when you think about AIDS? Fat stack, by the way, I forgot if I even said that. I'm gonna be honest here. Nowhere for that 6, 10, jack, or 9 on the game number 3. So AIDS, I think about the 1980s. A shortened lifespan, a shortened quality of life, and I know a lot has changed since then. Death sentence. I know, just the first things that come to mind. Freddie Mercury, Eazy-E, the Dallas Buyers Club, Live Aid, Magic Johnson, South Park. I forget why that one though. Oh, now I remember. I think because I don't have much to say about it or talk about regarding it, makes me want to explore it more and understand myself a little bit better, you know? And maybe through that we're learning more about ourselves just through either you listening to me, having thoughts or responses in your head to what's being said. And if it is a fear, oh wait, no. Something after, like when you understand how autoimmune diseases work, you just understand your body's just like having trouble producing naturally what it should. In certain counts, I think T cells drop a lot, which just help with your immune system. So what I would do after I learned about that was really change my diet to just guess what I'm learning about myself right now is that I know that it's not as bad as it used to be. I still do have fears regarding it, whether it's contracting it just out of like just washing your hands on a sink and you don't know there's residue from someone who was not healthy. And it doesn't mean to dictate your actions or my actions by fear, just always doing the best to be prepared and not thinking, what if I did this type of thing? What else am I learning? It does make me a little bit uncomfortable to talk about, maybe because the lack of grown upon familiarity. This was right here, by the way. That's how it slid out. But despite having those uncomfortableness or uncomfortable moments or thoughts with it, it doesn't truly bother me to change myself, I suppose. I don't know. I'm having a tough time right now. As that is, come on, Red Queen. Damn. I think a lot of time with this stuff, or these types, not just AIDS, but just like sicknesses or things that make us uncomfortable, is that we're so easily, or can so easily be judged for thinking about yourself before others. But I think that is only natural as an initial response, and it shouldn't be met with guilt or negativity as long as it's understood and acknowledged. Alright, looks like we're coming towards the end if we can't make a play next round. Here we go. Nowhere for that king. 9, jack, or 9. On to game number 4. I don't think I've been around people, at least openly, who've had HIV or AIDS. And most of the stories I've heard are like through videos or interviews, documentaries, that type of thing. So with the lack of familiarity, I think does have a legitimate fear and me before others type of thing. I don't know. Like obviously there is like concern of progression of like AIDS development to where I'm pretty sure now there are drugs to prevent it, to prevent contraction, spreading, minimize the effects, normalize someone who has it or does have it. Well, it's just kind of one of those things to me, I suppose, because I do feel like how I communicated could come off cold. It's just one of those things in the world that it's going to take time to maybe get better through science and patience, similar to different types of cancer or brain deterioration. And I don't think I like to think too much of things that can't be changed or can't be helped, besides already making actions to make those preventions or delay and quote the inevitable. Very interesting. I'm learning not that much, but a little bit about how I view this. Ooh, that's not good. Triple kings for game number 4, and we're emotion or response for myself. I think through my actions and how I view things, I don't overreact. If anything, I underreact, as that was a quick game number 4 because of the triple kings. 4, jack, 9, 5, 8, 2, and an 8, nowhere to go. On to game number 5. I'm someone who's more, I don't react too much, I suppose, when it's something serious. For example, triple 4s, there has to be more triple 7s, one more triple jacks at least, triple 5s, and triple queens. Hold up. Wow, with double aces and 3s. This much were triplets. Ridiculous. For example, for those of you who don't know, about a year ago, my sister, one of my key formers into who I am and develop into as a person, or have developed before, so a huge role model for me, about a year ago, was diagnosed with cancer. And my initial response was, yeah, it's gonna happen type of thing. Especially nowadays, as unfortunate as it may be. And she was obviously emotional. Just had her second child fairly recently. At that point, parents devastated, brother out of state, but I could only imagine. So I thought, can't do anything about it now besides go through chemotherapy, appointments, surgeries, all of what lies ahead, or what is yet to be done. And being sad is not what she needs right now. She needs someone with strength to not, depress more than it already is. And during, I think, her first month of chemotherapy, someone broke into her car and stole her license, credit cards, pretty much everything, when she was already at a very low point. And I was upset. And what I did my best to figure out how to track him down, using cameras, neighbors, and just piecing things together in that exact evening so she wouldn't have to worry about having to cancel everything, and so on. So, turns out a homeless person stole it. No exact area or suspicion of where they went or came from, but I'm familiar with the area, do lots of jogging, and just know that I'm familiar enough with homeless people to assume what they'll do, where they'll go, where they'll camp out, how they'll act, especially if they're under the influence and if they have criminal-like tendencies. So within that day, my sister was just crying in the front of the house, and I just said, get in the car, we're gonna go find it. Just so she's feeling like something's being acted upon, and that we're acting, not just letting it hit negatively. And just, she wanted to give up much earlier, but I said, no, 5 more minutes, and in that 5 more minutes, I went to one final spot to where I think they might be. We found the homeless person, recovered all of her stuff, called the cops, all that type of thing. Longer story than that, but was able to recover everything, alleviate headaches, and she's told me, and my thought was, this is a turning point for last week found out it's back, unfortunately, obviously. And parents devastated. She was with her child, another fat stick by the way, her second born, and she was being next to everyone, just completely down, crying, emotionally unwell for obvious reasons. And I made sure to not let myself, not letting is not that I'm not feeling, it's just there's nothing you can do besides act in your best interest. And what I viewed the most necessary point of action was to take her daughter out of the situation so she would not have those negative emotions in memory. Because it's very easy to remember feelings more than actual memories, especially a young mind, 8, queen, 9, and a 9, nowhere to go. And again, that was acknowledged afterwards by them, saying how it was very needed and they weren't able to go to or consider that at the moment, but we're very glad that I was able to. And all I tried to do was support the best way I can, accept the grim realities of what may be. And I think the best way I like to think about it now is, instead of, for example, losing someone too young, changing the narrative to being enjoying 40 years of someone as opposed to 40 years too short, and making the most of what can happen in the time that's left than dwelling on the negatives. It's just lots of stuff. Didn't mean for this one to be such a bummer, if it is, but if anything, I still had fun. I enjoyed myself. Could obviously talk about this stuff for a long time. Probably not the best place, but maybe another time, my friend. If you want to share any thoughts, I'd love to read them, respond to you, share experiences, personal, familial, whatever it may be. Love to hear from you. As always, my friend, stay safe, eat your fruits and vegetables, and do your best to stay healthy.